The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. Luke. Jesus said to his disciples, "I have come to set the earth on fire, and how I wish it were already blazing. There is a baptism with which I must be baptized, and how great is my anguish until it is accomplished. Do you think that I have come to establish peace on the earth? No, I tell you, but rather division. From now on, a household of 5 will be divided, 3 against 2, and 2 against 3. A father will be divided against his son, and a son against his father. A mother against her daughter, and a daughter against her mother. A mother-in-law against her daughter-in-law, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law." The Gospel of the Lord. During our lifetime, all of us have heroes who inspire us, who motivate us. Looking at my old college dictionary, the definition is a hero is a person noted for feats of courage or nobility of purpose, especially one who has risked or sacrificed his life, or a prominent person in some event, field, period, or cause by reason of his special achievements or contributions. So these heroes set before us a goal that we want to be like that hero. We want to achieve the same. We want to persevere. I'm sure that some of our young athletes in this parish, looking at the Olympics, are much impressed by the triumphs of Michael Phelps in his swimming, or the gymnastic triumphs of Simone Biles. These are heroes that help motivate. In my own life, too, when I think of my teenage years not long ago, I had a couple of heroes that inspired me to become a priest, Archbishop Fulton Sheen and Billy Graham. And then during my seminary days on, Pope St. John Paul II and Cardinal Ratzinger, who became Pope Benedict, inspired me, and still do, to become a very good, holy priest. So all of us have these heroes. You and I, though, need to remember that we have even superheroes that we can rely on. St. Paul, in our second reading from Hebrews, says we're surrounded by a cloud of witnesses. These are the saints. How wonderful it is to know that we have the living presence of the saints. These are men and women, even children, of all kinds of occupations, of every time and age, who lived holy lives. They kept the faith. They had their eyes fixed on Christ. They lived lives of heroic virtue. These saints are powerful intercessors for us. Pope St. John Paul II said, "The saints have always been the source and origin of renewal in the most difficult moments in the Church's history." And so all of us here should have a devotion to a particular saint, maybe our name saint or our confirmation saint. I think of Simone Biles, that great gymnast of the Olympics. I found out that she was raised by her grandparents. She's a Catholic. She attends Mass on Sundays. She says the Rosary. But before she competes, she prays. Also, oftentimes when she goes on competition, she takes her statue of Saint Sebastian, who's the patron saint of athletes. So here's this young gymnast who is so outstanding in her abilities, but she's relying on, yes, God's grace, but also the help of Saint Sebastian, and who knows how many other saints. Well, my brothers and sisters, we need to rely on these saints too, because they give us the example we need to motivate us in this time, this space, right here and now. Today we actually celebrate the feast of one of the great saints of recent times, Today's the 75th anniversary of the martyrdom of St. Maximilian Kolbe. He was born in 1894 in Poland. He was a very devout young man. He even had a vision of our Blessed Mother, who presented him with two crowns, a white crown for purity, a red crown for martyrdom. She said, "Choose one." He chose both. As time went on, he entered the Franciscans, was ordained as a priest. To foster devotion to our Blessed Mother, he formed a pious group called the Knights of Mary Immaculate. They had a journal that went worldwide. Eventually, for a few years, he was a missionary in Japan, but returned to Poland in the mid-30s, 1930s, because of poor health. But in September 1939, life changed drastically. Hitler's panzers crossed over the border of Poland, and Poland fell to Nazi occupation. Immediately, the church was persecuted. Thousands of Polish priests, religious brothers and sisters, were sent to the concentration camps. In the spring of 1941, St. Maximilian himself was arrested by the Gestapo and sent to Auschwitz. There he was treated like a work animal. But he never forgot he was a priest. As best he could, when he obtained some smuggled in bread and wine, he offered Mass. He would go in the cell block at nighttime from bunk to bunk and just say, "I'm a Catholic priest. Is there anything I can do for you?" Zygmunt Gorson, who was a young Polish Jewish boy who lost his own family at Auschwitz, wrote this about St. Maximilian, and he was present for St. Maximilian's canonization. He said, "To me, Father Maximilian was a father, brother, confessor, savior. We used to talk about the Polish homeland and the goodness of man. He didn't hate the Nazis, and he taught me not to hate. The little food he had, he shared with me. Even though he was starving and his lips were swollen from hunger, he often gave his food away to others. I will always believe, as long as I live, that I survived and preserved my sanity because of St. Maximilian Kolbe." Other kids went berserk and would throw themselves at the electric fence, but he helped me to keep my sanity. Well, on July 30th of 1941, one of the prisoners from the cell block escaped. So the rest of the prisoners were lined up in formation. It was a hot July day, just like we have right here and now. You can imagine standing there in the hot sun all day, without any water, bathroom, anything. Well, by the end of the day, they realized that the prisoner would not be retrieved. So with that, the assistant commandant, Commandant Fritsch, just went through the lines, pointing to take 10 prisoners who would be executed in retaliation. So imagine standing there and the commandant saying, you, and just off to the starvation bunker you went. Well, one sergeant, a young sergeant, pleaded for mercy, said, "I've got a wife and 2 young kids." No mercy was going to be given. Father Maximilian stepped forward. That in itself was a risk to his life, but Fritsch asked him, "What do you want, Polish pig?" And Father Maximilian said, "I want to exchange my life for that man's." Fritsch said, "Why?" Maximilian said, "Because I'm a Catholic priest." Well, with a grunt, a nod, wave of the hand, the exchange was made. So the 10 were taken to the punishment cell block, to the underground starvation bunker. They were stripped naked and put in this room. Imagine a 12 by 12 room with one little ventilation vent at the top, maybe 10 feet high, 16 inches in width, 8 inches down. That was your ventilation. Your toilet was a bucket. That was it. Iron door closes, and you're left to starve to death. 14 days would pass. During that time, they would hear groans, but they also heard the recitation of the rosary and hymns and other prayers. On August 14th, the door opened. And one prisoner was still alive, and that was St. Maximilian. He was saying the rosary. He had an expression of peace on his face. With that, they administered to him an injection of carbolic acid, and his life was done in this world. And sadly, his remains were cremated. But with that, later on, the SS guard who was in charge said, "The priest was a really great man. We have never seen anyone like him." One of the prisoners who took the bodies out of the cell said, "His death was a shock that filled us with hope, bringing new life and strength. It was like a powerful shaft of light in the darkness of the camp." My brothers and sisters, despite the evil surrounding St. Maximilian, he still had Christ. He had hope. The evil did not penetrate his heart. He was still free, and he died free, not as a slave. Well, this helps us, and the lives of all the saints help us to understand our gospel today. Because Jesus says, "I've come to set the earth on fire," not a destructive fire, but a fire of love. That's how the fire of God is shown in the sacred scriptures, as an act of God's love. So Christ came into this world to show us radiantly God's love. We see that as he illuminated God's truth to us, preaching the gospel. He showed us the right way to live. He showed us how it is to be a human being with dignity, made in God's image and likeness. Christ did the good works to show God's love for each of us. In the end, he went to that cross. But there, he really set the world on fire. With the love of that sacrifice, he forgave sins. And then through the resurrection, he conquered sin, death, suffering. And so he gave us a love that brings freedom. Here is a love that will cast out the darkness of any source of evil. This love, this fiery love then, descended upon the apostles at Pentecost, and they went forth to ignite on the face of the earth this fire of God's love. The saints lived this. We're called to live this. So looking to the examples then, you and I who've received baptism and confirmation, who are nourished with the Holy Eucharist, need to be on fire with God's love. No matter what our situation is in this world, no matter how dark it might seem at times, we have Christ. We have the power of all these saints who are interceding for us. So my brothers and sisters, we have to be on fire and show the light of God's truth. Basic truths, like life is sacred from conception until natural death. Each person has dignity and value. A child has a right to a mom and a dad. Marriage is between a man and a woman as husband and wife. That even the elderly, the suffering, the dying have human dignity. Basic truths, but truths that are of God's love for each person. And then we have to show the fire of love by how we live, those good works. This is why our church does have hospitals and orphanages, schools. This is why our parish helps Birthright, or the food bank at Catholic Charities, or the Little Sisters of the Poor. And for you all, in your own homes, the best good work you can do to show the fire of God's love is have the best Christian marriage you can have, to have the best Christian family you can have, to have the best Christian home that you can have. That radiates the power of God's love, that fire that illuminates the world. Will it be easy? No. Jesus says division will occur. Yes, if we have this fire, we will be divided from the darkness. Consider, take a good, sincere Catholic politician who supports the sanctity of life. He will be crucified by the media. The division is there. Or think about a young person who's going off to high school, maybe college, and says, no, I'm not going to do drugs. I'm not going to drink alcohol. I'm not going to sex around. I'm going to be a good, virtuous Christian. Division will come, maybe ridicule. Or I give you a real example from 2 years ago, where a young man I taught, 8th grade, went to Thomas Jefferson High School, was a very smart, outstanding young man. In his civics class, the teacher asked, well, what do you all think about same-sex marriage? He's the only one that had the courage to raise his hand and said, I believe marriage is between a man and a woman. A girl from across the room threw a book at him. Now, girl got, no, you shouldn't throw books. He got taken to the principal's office and told, you need to be more tolerant. Division will come. And maybe it would be if you have a vocation even. Division can come in our own families. I have a priest friend, now deceased, but when he decided to become a priest, his family disowned him. If we're on fire with Christ, sadly, division will come. But at the same time, fire catches. Just like one spark can ignite a forest fire that destroys thousands of acres, a spark of Christ's love can change a person's life. That Waffen SS officer that I mentioned previously, because of St. Maximilian, after the war, he repented. He went back to his Catholic faith. He went to confession. He lived a very penitential life for the rest of his life. The fire caught in that one man's soul. And so, my brothers and sisters, the light of Christ, the fire of God's love. If we went to Auschwitz today, and I was there 3 years ago, going to the cell of St. Maximilian, we could pray, and I prayed to be a good, holy priest. But in that dark cell is a Paschal candle that's lit, and it shows the power of one light that can overcome the darkness. You and I are called to be saints, just like the saints were on fire with the love of God, just as they were lights burning in the darkness. That's what we're called to do in this day and age. Let us not be afraid. Fear enslaves. Let us not give in to evil. Evil will enslave, but the fire of God's love will set us free. Be a saint. That's what we need in our world today. May God bless you.